The purpose of this presentation is really to give you guys some actionable items for how AI actually works and what the smart CEOs are doing here in 2026. So, as my college professor used to say, make sure you introduce yourself to start out so people can determine if you're actually worth listening to or not. So, I'll give you a quick background on me. My name is Patrick Laughlin. I was a Naval Academy graduate and former Navy pilot for about 10 years. As I was coming out, I joined and helped grow a recruiting agency, which I'm still owner of, which is Systematic Business Consulting. And we made the Inc. 5000 list with that company. Around that time, ChatGPT came out. I said, this is amazing. I'm going to learn everything I can about it and deep dive into every tool, started training my own models, creating my own AI agents pretty early on. So I became the unofficial and then the official spokesperson for Inc. magazine for AI implementation. So I'm the president of Elite Workflow. That is my AI automation consulting agency, which I've now consulted with about 200 different companies. I've consulted with some $1 million companies, and I've consulted with some $1 billion companies at the enterprise level. And some of the bigger names, I try not to disclose clients, but I worked with some bigger companies in the Fortune 500 realm as well for guidance on how to successfully implement AI into their businesses. With that, I've been featured in Inc. magazine as well as Business Insider. There's various articles out there where I was quoted or speaking or presenting AI implementation. And I have done multiple different speaking engagements in the Inc. community for the Inc. 5000 founders, as well as in the EO network. So I know a lot of you guys are EO members, which I've done some speaking engagements at the forum level and looking to do some additional ones for chapter level going forward as this continues to expand. So the whole point of this presentation is to really talk about the brutal reality of AI and what that looks like. 88% of companies said that they're using AI in 2025. Now, with that, what I think you're going to find with this is that, of the 88%, only really 6% are actually winning with it. I think the surprising part is that the gap isn't technology, it's execution. I am sure you're assuming, hey, these huge companies, McDonald's, Nike, the big players are out there are the ones winning with AI because they're building these massive models, but actually they're the ones struggling the most for implementation. So that kind of brings us to the next piece. Where you are today. One of the first things I ask my clients is to get a really gauge of where you're at. And this is where I would ask you, where do you land on this scale? Some people are, I haven't taken the AI dive. I've heard about it, but it's not something I really want to get into. Sometimes it's, hey, I use ChatGPT, maybe Claude, maybe Gemini, and that's about it. We haven't gone farther in our company. And maybe some of my employees use it, but that's the most that we're getting right now. Some people are stuck in pilot purgatory. They're starting to make the dive, but it's constantly piloting things. They're not really getting their ROI they're expecting from these different AI implementation plans. Other people are just drowning in tools. They bought every AI tool imaginable, and they're not seeing any results because hey, I got some advantage here, some advantage there, but really they're probably not using all the tools they need, or they're spending a lot of money and only using about 10% of what those tools offer. Some people are finally starting to get results, and I've seen this more in 2025 versus 2024, and we'll go through that timeline. And then this is where people should be trying to get. This is the 6% right now, is building a competitive moat using and leveraging AI. I'm going to tell you today how to actually get there. So have an honest conversation with yourself of where you are and where your team is, and really where you want to go. So the whole point of this presentation and what we're going to cover today, I promise you, I'm not here to sell you things or sell you on a tool or anything else like that. I'm here to give you actual actionable guidance on things that are going to be useful for you for implementation in your company. We're going to set a baseline. What are AI agents? There's about 50 million definitions out there. I'm going to give you the definition that I use, but not only that I use, but most agencies use that that are out there for AI implementation. We're going to talk about a 5-phase operating system. This is a proven system that I've used in hundreds of companies that have successfully implemented AI in their businesses. We're also going to talk about real actions top CEOs are doing today and taking action today to set themselves up for 2026. The last thing we're going to do is what to start doing now. I'm going to be giving you a 90-day framework, things you can start here January 1 to start implementing within your team, within your company to successfully implement AI across the board. So 2026 is going to be the year that this little AI gap becomes a canyon for most companies. Based on this timeline, 2023 was the year that everyone experimented with ChatGPT. It came out, people said this is amazing, but they had no idea how to leverage it as a technology. A lot of leaders started realizing it could be a really good thought partner, things that they could bounce ideas off, get that good idea fairy as you go through, but really no one could figure out how to implement it within their business. So 2024 brought this pilot purgatory. Lots of testing, little scaling. I'm sure most of you guys read that report from MIT that said 95% of all AI implementation has been a failure. And that was from results from 2024. It was companies spending huge amounts of money on their special customized AI agents and things like that. And they just did not get return on investment there. So what we started to see here in 2025 is that sorting starting to begin. People are starting to see results. Some of my most recent clients, they are seeing a return of 3 to 5x within 6 months of starting to implement this framework and starting to get AI put in very special places within their business. And some of it's just pure automation as well. My older clients, they're already starting to dig that moat, that proprietary moat that will make them extremely powerful moving forward. For most companies, 2026 will be the year that agentic AI goes mainstream. Winners are going to begin to emerge because they actually implemented AI agents within their workflows and within their company. So, what is an AI agent? What the heck am I talking about here? I know a lot of you guys, like I said, probably use ChatGPT or something like that, but an agent is a little bit different. Textbook definition, AI agent is a system that can autonomously plan, make decisions, and take actions to achieve specific goals with minimal human supervision. So what the heck does that mean? This picture kind of shows it, right? You are putting things into these large language models. Maybe it's a certain time of day, maybe it's a note, or maybe it's a capture point. You're putting information into the large language model. Then you are giving it authority to go get information from other places, whether that's your calendar, whether that's your CRM or your ATS system. Based on that, it can take an action. And with all these actions, you can always add a human in the loop, which is like, it takes action and says, hey, can I do this? And you could say yes or no based on the action that it took. So we're going to go over some examples of this. This is very high level of what an AI agent can do, but I kind of want to explain a little bit further on what this would look like in a very actionable realm. So with this, I'm going to show you guys 3 examples, and we'll go over a lot more going forward. So the first example I can give you, and this is a very common one that you've probably seen in some capacity, which is the customer support intelligence agent. So what this does is a large language model, say, let's just use ChatGPT in this context. Someone comes up to your website and they have a question about your product or about your services. They can talk to a chatbot. The chatbot can receive that ticket and detect the urgency. So AI agents and large language models are very good at interpreting the context and the nature of messaging that they're receiving. So if someone's in a panic or someone's just calmly asking, it can detect the urgency of that request of information. Based on that, it can auto route to the right specialist instantly. So if it's a red flag issue and it needs to immediately go to someone on your team, it can route to the right person based on the response. It can also go ahead and answer simple questions. So you can have that large language model can be tied to your business intelligence on your product, on your service, and be able to quickly answer those questions without having a human intervene. And with that, you can always have all this information, all these chats stored on the back end, so you can read them later and see how the AI answered it. But This is a way for it to solve a lot of problems on the front end before even having to go to a person. And it could escalate complex issues with full context summary. So it can take a snapshot of what that conversation was and pass it on as it elevates to your support staff. So what we found right now is that most customer service complaints, about 90% of them can be handled by an AI agent. 10% of them will get elevated, and that's where you have your typical customer support team. So what you're talking about there is a significant reduction of the amount of people you need on your customer support team. You'll be able to handle a lot more, and they can focus on the highest ticket items, things that really do need their interference so that they can help in both products and services. Let's talk about sales. Everyone needs sales. And for this, we'll talk about a sales pipeline intelligence agent. What this can do, it can track every lead's interaction for what they have, whether that's on social media, emails, website visits, downloads, any sort of interaction a potential client might have with you and your process. You can capture that and automate that into one place. Then, based on those engagements in your CRM or somewhere else, AI can give it a score based on the engagement and the buying signals and say, hey, this is a very high chance of conversion for this client, or this is very low. They're just looking around and they're probably not interested. They can automatically send personalized follow-ups based on those engagements. So if the AI agent sees that they visited your website and maybe liked a post on social media, they can maybe send a specialized email that targets that. And with that, they can alert the sales rep when that lead is hot and ready to talk. So maybe part of that is tying into your Calendly or whatever else and sending out calendar invites so that when that person's ready to talk, they can schedule a meeting right with your salesperson. So all this is happening in the background. It's one of those things that you get to a place where your salesperson is waking up in the morning and they might have 3 or 4 meetings already set up for them to go through that were warmed up using AI. One other one I'll give you, this is dear to my heart, is recruiting, screening intelligence agents. We're starting to see this a little bit more. What this would do is parse a resume. So say you have a LinkedIn post or Indeed post. As these resumes come in, it can go ahead and parse those resumes and extract the key qualifications. It can score the candidate based on your job description that you originally posted and the requirements for that job. Give it a score. And then based on that, it can send personalized screening questions via email to the people that responded. So say that there's gaps in the resume or things that you're concerned about, the AI agent can identify that between the resume and the job description and ask those follow-on questions, screening questions, for that person to answer. When the person responds, the AI agent captures all those, and then they will schedule phone screenings based on availability. You can add a human in the loop there to verify, like, yep, we want to schedule a meeting. But at that point, the AI can go back and forth with that person and go ahead and get phone screenings based on calendar availability. And all of this can be tracked in your ATS system with candidate status, flags for top candidates in interview, as well as those scores that we talked about earlier. These are some of the real powerful real-world agents that people are deploying and seeing quantifiable results. Here's the truth. Winners don't have better tools. They have better systems. Most companies have a system problem, not a technology problem. People are randomly deploying tools. It's leading to this tool graveyard. I've seen multi-billion-dollar companies that are spending millions of dollars getting Copilot for every single employee, and they're not seeing a single ROI from that. No one's making money doing that. AI operating system, this AI operating system framework that I've developed will fix that for you. And I'm sharing with you guys because I want you guys to look at this and start deploying this for your companies. This is where you'll find success. So what does this look like? We're going to go through this step by step. It's a 5-step process, and it'll make a lot of sense as we go through. But this is going to take you from chaos and bleeding to having a proprietary AI moat that's going to make you extremely powerful as a company and in your industry. So step 1 is called Find the Bleed. The whole point of this is to pinpoint exactly where your business is hemorrhaging money, time, and opportunity. Common mistakes people make when they're doing this is picking or adding the easiest workflows instead of the most impactful ones. So how do you find the bleed? What this is a dual audit system is what I call it. You're doing 2 things. First thing, you're auditing your technology. Go look at your your budget, go look at your QuickBooks, go talk to your people, list every single software that you're currently paying for and audit it and say realistically, what are we using it for? And more importantly, is it talking to any of the other systems I have? If you guys are paying for LinkedIn, is it feeding information into your CRM system, whether that's HubSpot, Salesforce, or one of the other ones that are out there? Figure out what you're paying for, what its purpose is, and are you getting the results that you want, and is it integrating with your current systems? The second step is even more powerful, which is the human workflow audit. Depending on the size of your team, if you're a smaller team, you might interview every single person on your team. If you are a bigger organization, you might be talking to the key decision makers, the high-level department heads, and then maybe going down into some of the operator positions. What you're trying to do there is interview each one of them. Take an hour for these interviews and ask the right questions. What are you doing throughout the week? What are you spending your time on? What's spending the most time on each month? You have like one day a month where your whole day is wasted because you're doing one thing. It will be incredibly illuminating for you, but it will also allow you to identify where the bleeding is at. Where are you wasting a lot of time within your workflows, within your team, within your company? Based on all this information you get, you can develop an implementation roadmap. So what that is looking at how can we start getting rid of some tools? How can we consolidate our tech? And then how can we also consolidate our workflows so that everything's streamlined and I can start adding in automations and AI and what they do. So after you get this roadmap and you get a clear picture of where everything's at, step 2 is deliver without drama. 60% of your workforce is going to be resistant to AI and automation. I've seen it time and time again. That's the whole point of this step right here, is to start to get buy-in from everyone on your team, but even buy-in for yourself. As you see what's possible, it's like a hydra. Like when you cut one head off, 3 more sprout out. You're going to solve a issue, and there's going to be a lot more that come up. And it's like, okay, let's look at how this fits into that implementation roadmap. Any tool that you buy, is it going to fit within the context of your tech stack? Any workflow you do, does it integrate in what you're currently doing? So you want to prove that it works before you scale it. A working solution is going to be the perfect one every time. Too many people get caught up of like, I got to build the perfect machine. What I tell my team all the time is build it bad and then make it better. So I'd rather get something out the door and start testing it. So you just want to pick that biggest bleed, and that's what you're piloting. Have a 30-day proof of concept of delivering that without drama. Step 3 is stack, don't scatter. So for this, you're trying to stack your tech, and you're also trying to stack your wins. Once you get one win, like I said, it's like a hydra. You're going to find a lot of other things that you can automate and streamline. And really the ultimate purpose here is to get your people to focus on their core competency. You want your sales guys selling. You don't want them having to do research. You don't want to have them to do all this business development stuff. You want them in front of people selling and closing deals. How do you get them there? What else are they doing throughout the week? How many times are they spending on email or fidgeting with their calendar? Where can you potentially integrate AI and automation within their current workflow to make them a lot more efficient as a person? A common mistake I see here is people getting shiny object syndrome. They see, oh, wow, it can do all these things. Let's go ahead and attack our biggest elephant and try and do revenue generating things. It's a dangerous precedent to set. Sometimes that's needed. Maybe that is your biggest bleed. But for most companies, you want to first start with what you're currently doing because you understand it. You understand the workflows. You can map it out, and you can figure out where to integrate automation and where to integrate AI. So use that roadmap from step 1 to determine your left and right limits and how to implement the automation and AI you want to do in your company. Step 4, when in doubt, automate the 80%. So what the heck does the 80% mean? Like I said, every single person on your team has a core competency. One thing that you hired them for at a high level. Like I said, if it's a salesperson, you hired them to sell. Customer service, supporting your customers, right? But they've done studies. Typically for most employees, they spend 9 hours out of their week answering emails. They spend 11 hours out of their week finding information. So that's 20 hours out of their 40-hour work week is finding information or answering emails. That's 80% work. That's work that should be automated. There are so many email agents out there. There are so many ways to start getting your company data in a more streamlined, quick way. If you can automate those 80% tasks, those repetitive, high frequency, simple tasks, and you amplify the 20%, the creative, strategic, complex thinking tasks, that's when you go from cost savings, which is the first part, to, like I said, that long-term proprietary moats of enhancing the 20%. That's when you're start to see revenue generation from AI. That's when you can see a lot of power. Ignoring the mundane or doing something to do it, say, hey, I'm going to do some of this stuff later. Those are common mistakes. Focus on those really annoying tasks. You're going to be happy to get them out of your people's way, and it will leave you open to really step into step 5. So when in doubt, automate it out. Step 5 is the most powerful step in this entire framework, building your proprietary system. What this means is collecting your data, your methods, and your expertise that your competitors cannot copy. It's putting all this information in one location, whether that's a database, whether that's a Google Drive, putting a place that you could then hook up to an AI agent, and that will allow you to open up all sorts of things. Sometimes people focus too much on like the normal data in their CRM or open source data. Proprietary data is that data that's in your mind, right? So we have a ton of people that have their note takers on here, which is great. That's how you start to capture proprietary data. Imagine your top salesperson, you had every recording they have ever done. And with that, you train a model to use that data, and that ultimately becomes your new sales training bot. So when you have a new salesperson comes on, they finish their call, their transcript goes to that AI agent that's been trained on by your best person, and it can give notes to the new salesperson on how to get better. This is where things become very powerful. Everyone that's on this call has incredible proprietary knowledge that's in their head from years of experience of running your industry and running your company. The more you can capture that information and store it somewhere, you will be able to give it access to these models, and they will be able to reference that and be able to answer questions or take action on your behalf. There's a lot of CEOs now that are creating digital twins, which is basically a copy of themselves. So I actually have one client that he will not answer a single question for his employees unless they go to his digital twin first and ask it. And he's seen an 80% reduction in the amount of questions he gets from his employees because the bot was able to answer based on all the knowledge he's given it up to that point. This is incredibly powerful stuff, and people are using this in real companies right now and seeing real results. So here's the playbook for 2026. These are moves that the high performers are making now to be first in class. You need to change your mindset on what AI is. The internet was the democratization for human communication. Before the internet, you had phone, and there wasn't really an easier way to communicate with people besides mass media. But it made it so that anyone could communicate with anyone. Artificial intelligence, that's going to be the democratization for human intelligence. So now all this proprietary knowledge, all this stuff that leaves, and when that person goes out the door, you can capture that because it's unique to your company, it's unique to you, and you can start training your people on it or using it to leverage, make your company better. This is the amazing power of AI. So what are high performers doing right now? First step, appoint an AI owner. One person who owns the strategy and reports to you. AI by committee dies in committee. 73% of high performers do this. Whether that's someone in your company or you hire someone like me who's a fractional AI consultant to come in there and do this work, you need someone that the CEO can point at and blame or cut the head off when there's a problem. But more importantly, they can drive the change forward. This is rapid change. These tools change quickly. Tech is changing quickly. You need someone that can devote themselves into implementing these things. Step 2, find the bleed personally. Try not to delegate this. Shadow your teams, see where the value is lost. Or if you appoint an AI owner that's not yourself, Have them record all those interviews so that you can go back and review, and maybe you want to go ask your own questions because no one knows your business better than you know your business. So take that knowledge, and I think you're going to be very surprised on what comes to light within those interviews. Kill the tool sprawl. So I tell my clients, execute a brutal use it or lose it tool audit. This consolidation frees up the budget and simplifies integration. Really, doing that first tech audit, you're going to find that there's tools that are like, why are we spending money on this? We're not really fully leveraging it. We're not really using it. Or you might have another tool that offers the exact same thing. Like note takers, there's a lot of different tools there now integrating their own note takers on meetings. You may not need to pay for a separate one for that. Calendly, same thing. You may not need a tool that can help you schedule meetings. You might be able to build into your CRM system. A lot of CRMs are starting to offer that. Build agents for the 80%. So those best people that you have, try automating their grunt work first. This alone is going to bring 3 to 5 ROI just because they're going to be focused on what you hired them to do and not all that grunt work. And more importantly, let's be honest, a lot of these people that are really high level at what they do, they're really bad at the grunt work. They're terrible at admin. And man, if you could automate that away from them as much as possible, they're going to be happier because they're focusing on what you hired them to do. I would highly recommend you invest in training over tools. Top performers spend 2 to 3 times more on upskilling their team, and an unused tool has 0 ROI for you. So training can dramatically increase buy-in. I would do the training after you've done the audit and after you've done the first quick win. You're going to start getting buy-in, and that's a perfect time to pause and kind of go in there and figure out what can continue to get them buy-in and get them to start thinking about your proprietary moat. Because that's the last piece, is building a proprietary data moat, training AI on your unique institutional knowledge. Commoditized AI offers no significant advantage. So what you're going to find is when those top people aren't worrying anymore about the tools and not really worrying about their daily workflows, they're going to come up with really unique ideas of how you can further progress your company using these AI agents. So here's your 90-day roadmap. You know, the first 30 days is all about finding the bleed. You got to appoint your AI owner, schedule workflow audits with each department head, shadow key teams to identify the 3 biggest bleeds. See where that time is going and just pick one of those. You can discuss with the team. Actually, we can talk at the end about how some companies are using AI to come up with their strategy for the year. But based on that one that you decide to fix first, figure out what the metrics are. It might not be money saved. It might be time saved. It might be frustration decrease. You got to figure out what winning looks like and define that clearly before you start testing it. I would assemble a very small team to test it out, 5 people max, and then you create your 1-page brief of like, this is our number 1 bleed, this is how we're going to measure success, and then this is how we're going to fix it. This is the automation or AI agent we're going to put in place to do that. Days 31 through 90 is when you're going to deliver without drama. This is your first solution getting put into place, and it should be minimal viable solution. So like I said, an 80% solution is better than a 100% solution. You'll get it to 100% as you test it, as you get it into the hands of your operators. It'll make it better and better as you go along. And measure your results. You know, proof of ROI, actual numbers, not projections. As you get the ROI, you can share with your team the results. Not only that, the people who tested it are probably going to speak very highly of it and tell people their best practices using that tool. As you move on, that's when you start to stack, don't scatter. So have that full tool stack. Every company is now a tech company. Everyone needs a tool stack. Ensure your remaining tools can be integrated and start to figure out for any new tools you bring on board, how does it integrate with your current tech stack? So in 90 days, you're 1 of 2 places. You're either finding the major bleed, getting ROI, being more clean and lean. You have a clear plan for the next 6 months because you have that roadmap and you're building your moat, not chasing tools. Where you don't want to be is still exploring options. You're still talking with your exec team of, I know we need to do this, but how do we do it? You might have launched a bunch of pilots and 0 scaled. You bought some new tools, but no one adopted it, and no one can name a single specific AI win. Please do not be the company on the right. You want to be the one on the left. This roadmap will help you get there. Let me tell you 5 pitfalls to avoid as you go through this. The 5 AI killers that keep companies in that 88% where they're not winning. You're starting with the easy part and not the expensive. So automating your email signature while proposal for your employee takes 10 hours. Find that real financial bleed, that thing that is costing you the most time, the most money, the most investment that you can optimize with an AI agent. Scattering instead of stacking. So you have like 15 AI tools, they don't talk to each other. You're, signed up for every fancy thing you've seen on LinkedIn. That is a money graveyard. All your tools should be talking to each other to some extent. If your next thing is aiming for perfection, like I said, automate the 80%, aim for 80%. That's an easy goal. Optimize that. Number 4 there is no clear ownership. If you're saying, hey, everyone's working on AI, everyone has ChatGPT, that means no one's accountable, no one's driving forward the adoption that you need. This is a monumental tool. It's like when the internet came out and everyone needed a website, same thing here. Everyone needs to push forward on AI and figure out how to implement it successfully in their company. And the biggest mistake I see is building on sand. If you're already a chaotic mess, you have undocumented processes, your data is terrible in your CRM, if you automate it, it's just going to make a bigger mess. This is why you do the audit. This is why you are very critical on where you're currently at. And we're at the perfect time of year. It's December. January is coming up. Fresh start, fresh year. This is the perfect time to do this. And then come up with your roadmap in the next 12 months on how to successfully implement AI. This is the biggest takeaway I hope you get from this presentation. Execution is better than technology every single time. 6% aren't winning because they have better access to AI. They're winning because they have a systematic execution and a systematic process. You guys all have access to the same tools. I promise they don't have some special thing in the enterprise level. I've seen it. They're using the same tools you guys are using. The people that are winning have a framework that they're implementing and getting this technology rolled out. The only question is, what are you going to do about it? 2026 is the year that this gap becomes a canyon for most companies. If you want to be the leader in your industry, I implore you, please take me seriously on this and start implementing this roadmap. The 6% will dig moats. Everyone else will keep piloting. And the next 90 days can get you on track. Find that bleed and start winning with your AI. This is my one little pitch, like I said before. I run Elite Workflow. You can go to eliteworkflow.com. I have LinkedIn. I would love to add you guys. I know some of you guys might have seen me on the WhatsApp groups and for the EO network and things like that. I'm in EO Raleigh-Durham, so I'm Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina is where I'm located. I'd love to work with you guys, help you guys out. I have a Calendly link on my website that you can schedule a 30-minute meeting with me. I'd love to talk to you about you and your company as well. But more importantly, the purpose of this was to walk through what I've actually seen implemented across the board. So what I'd love to do now is open it up for questions. So we have some time here, and I could stay on a little bit later here, but I think we have a couple there, and I'll look at the Q&A as well if you guys added anything in there. And yes, I'll get to you in a minute, Owen. So first, let me see the questions that we have in here. Can the presentation be shared? Yes, you guys will all get the recording after this, just to answer that. How do you build an agent, and how do you build a data moat? Are there specific tools you recommend? Great question. For most companies, if you're below, I would say 100 million in revenue, you can use a lot of these no-code builder tools to create AI agents nowadays. I like N8N, so the letter N, the number 8, the letter N, to build out some of these workflows. Make.com and Zapier are some other really common ones, and Google has their own, and ChatGPT has their own now too. Those things exist, but that's a great place to start. And there's tons of free resources on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on X, to get started on those. And obviously, like I said, if you need help with that as well, don't be afraid to reach out. I've built hundreds of them at this point. As far as where to store your data, once again, depends on scale. If you're a smaller company, just start with Google Drive or something like that, or SharePoint, a place where you can consolidate all your data. You just need a place where you can organize your data in a central location, right? So having it, all your sales calls and all your internal meetings and all those things in separate folders will get you started. If you're a bigger company, you want a dedicated database. you can create these things called RAG agents. Those are some of those digital twin things I was talking about. They need access to databases. And so whether that's Azure or using S3 from Amazon or Google, some of these bigger SQL database things on there, that's really what you want to implement. And there's even automations you can build there so that like when the meeting ends, it automatically parses and puts in these databases. So that's the first thing I would automate is when you get done with your meetings, it automatically gets filed. The transcript gets filed into a folder in your Google Drive or whatever else. If we're, let's see what else we got here. Patrick, everything you shared with lines of experience for the last years. Yes. Thank you for Greg on your notes there. If we're using chat, wouldn't that be better than N8N? Chat, so people that are using GPTs and chat in that capacity, it's good for some stuff. That's kind of an agent. You're making it use special use case. I don't like those systems because most employees don't want to go to a chatbot. Most people hate going to chatbots. They want to be able to press a button, and what I like to deploy are called magic box systems. So like you press a button, you do a form, you end a meeting. Those are all the triggers, and then all this magic happens in this black box, and then they get a great output. So an example would be, like I said, I end the meeting. After I end the meeting, the transcript gets pushed through an AI agent. That AI agent comes up with all the tasks that are assigned to each one of my employees. Those tasks are assigned to them, and they know it's ready to go. That transcript's also stored in my database, and we can go back and reference that at any point. I can talk to a chatbot and ask questions, and it can reference the most recent meetings of what occurred. Not only that, I've also built out systems where that ends, and it goes to an entire swarm of agents for people, and it goes to an entire board of like celebrity agents, right? So it goes to their Elon Musk bot, their Jeff Bezos bots, their all these different celebrity people who are on their board of directors, AI board of directors, and then they get the output from that. So it can look at what you said and give their own advice on how to further solve any issues you have and press things forward. So that's why I like these N8N type tools and things like that, because you can build in automations and it's not just directly AI, because most employees don't want to go and chat back and forth with an AI bot, and it wastes a lot of time too. All right. Let's see. Started a pilot, put a year of calendar into it, discovered infrastructure costs to operate might outweigh the human labor it tends to displace. What kind of framework do you recommend to avoid an outcome like this? This is a fantastic question. And I think that's the whole point of this entire audit process, is that as you deep dive in, you're going to find out where those streamlined things would be at. And you're doing a pilot program. You doing it for a year is the issue in itself. It should be a 30-day pilot. If you're not getting results in 30 days, then that tells you that this is probably not the right thing to implement first. While it might be a big bleed for you, it might be that the tech hasn't been there yet, but the tech is changing so fast. Some of the AI agents and models from before are free to use now, and it's like you can still get incredible output from there. Now, this is the one thing I will say, that this is also why people hire people like me to come in there, is that we can find you the most cost-saving and effective way to implement some of these things. And I hate to like sell it like that, but that's just the truth too, because there's sometimes when people build it, they have these overly complex engines when you need just something simple. Keep it simple for it. I hope that answers your question. Second one, what's the biggest human barrier to AI adoption you've experienced? So patterns. And Owen, I can come back to you in a minute if you have. If anyone has a question too, they can raise their hand and I can get you on the mic as well. The biggest human barrier to AI adoption, like I said, is chatbots, to be honest. A lot of people create these GPTs or whatever else, or they pay everyone for Copilot licenses. Even if they train their people are resistant to go out of their way to a separate software just to talk back and forth. And for most people who haven't really used this technology, you're going to get really, really bad results at first. When you go on there and you just start talking to it back and forth, it looks like the typical AI slop that we see everywhere. And they've probably experienced AI slop in their lives, whether that's on Facebook videos or LinkedIn on comments, and it's that has really deterred most adoption for people. So that's why I like these black box systems, magic box systems, where you're building agents that most employees, they kind of know what's going on in the back end, but for the most part, it's a mystery box. They put it in, they're like, wow, I get amazing things every time. More importantly, that agent will be specifically fine-tuned and tailored so that they get consistently good results every single time. And no matter what they put in there, they're going to get stuff that's on brand, on company message, out the door, so that you're not getting this really bad slop that's created when you go back and forth with chatbots. The other resistance I see is some people say, my employees are afraid that it's going to replace them. And the honest truth is, I've not seen that. The people who tried to replace their employees with AI are a lot of the ones that failed in that first year. What we are seeing is that it's enhancing their current employees dramatically, which has made it so that companies aren't hiring as many people as they did before. That's where the gap is in the workforce, where, hey, we have a whole team that we trained up with this new tech, and we're leveraging the agents now. And you know what? I don't need to hire any more in customer service. I don't need to hire any more salespeople. These people are doing 5 times of what they were doing before because they're leveraged by AI and agents. And I have my best people, removing that 80%. So now 100% of their time is on the 20% of their work, which is really where that power comes in revenue generation and cost savings. So that's what I've seen across the board. And it's that understanding within your workforce that, hey, if you're here contributing value, you're going to continue to do that, but you'll be able to focus on that more because we're going to remove all the other grunge work that you have to do day-to-day operations. So with that, I think that's through all the Q&As I have right now. If anyone has other questions, feel free to raise a hand. One other piece I'll share. Can everyone see this that I put up here? Thumbs up or something. We're going to see it in the chat. You guys still see the presentation, or you see otherwise? Can anyone see a web page attendance intelligence briefing? Let me try this real quick. Okay, let me make that back up. Yeah, so to show that I practice what I preach here, I had the list of people that are attending. I sent it to an AI agent. It did enhancements on everyone that was attending today's call, right? And it gave me a bunch of strategic insights. It gave me deep dive insights, strategic opportunities, let me know where people are located at, the different sectors that they're in, segmentation. And I have an entire database here, directory of, attendees, right? I'll pick on one of the people that's in my forum here, Mary Beth. So for her, I have her email. I can click that and go to her email. I can get to her LinkedIn, get to her company. I have a draft ready to go, as well as some AI agents she can deploy. And I have, understand her connections, followers, reach, everything else about her and this specific thing, as well as her headline on her piece. This gave me an assessment on her AI readiness right now, based on a variety of factors. But this is just an example. This took me about, I think about 30 minutes last night, where I took the data, which a lot of you guys didn't provide all the data, and I just put in the agent. It found all the data, and with that, it was able to generate. I threw it into Google AI Studios. It created a dashboard for me. I promise you, I'm not going to spam you with this. This was just more to show you guys of what's possible with an AI agent very quickly. Is you can deploy these sort of things where it's like, wow, that was a quick, viable opportunity. It's an 80% solution, right? That I can go in and enhance. And anytime I do a presentation now, I can use the similar format to, get a gauge of potential people I'm talking to and to get more information and to get insights of who I should talk to and what I should talk about based on sector or whatever else. Stop sharing that. Okay, so does my work focus on large language models or also advise machine learning? I've done both. Machine learning, I typically find those with the higher level companies. It is very expensive. Oh, yes. The last thing I just showed you was built into Google AI Studios. So if you have a Google account, you can sign up for free and test it out. And I could show you that separately if you want. I've done machine learning. it is a lot more expensive to implement any of those things. It's you require a lot of data. You have to pay for a lot more high-powered systems to implement it. I do have people I outsource it to when it's time for those kind of builds. So a lot of the building I've done, especially I've focused more on small to medium size. So under 500 million in revenue is typically my client base, which is small middle market. And for them, AI agents makes a lot more sense than machine learning because they're going to get a lot more ROI. Manufacturing plants, they're the ones who are focusing more on machine learning. And that might be worth the investment depending on what you're trying to do. Like I talked with a bottling plant and they're like, hey, we lose a certain amount of bottles in our plant each year. We have cameras focused on those bottles. So when they fall and break, we want to see where those are happening, as well as to track how much revenue we're losing on projections and forecasting. So they wanted this big machine learning model to do that because it would save them millions. So the investment was worth it. So as you go through, you kind of need to dig into what the ROI will be on the out term. And then you can give a better assessment on like, yeah, this is what's going to cost you to get up and running and what's going to cost you to implement it, and kind of going from there. So appreciate all the shout outs on so far on here. How do we protect our data from going out into the open internet? Fantastic question. First of all, in your large language models, so Chat, Claude, Gemini, there is a setting, if you go to your settings, where you say, don't train on my data. Make sure that's toggled on. If you're paying for the business plan, it automatically will not train on your data. More importantly, for these AI agents, when you're building them, they're doing what's called an API call. So if you're not a tech person, an API call is basically it's pinging their servers to get the information and come back. Anytime it does an API call, it is not training on your data. You retain the rights to your data. If they were for any reason, they would get sued out the wazoo because everyone's using it right now, and a lot bigger players than you are using it too. So to protect your data, this is why you want to build in like N8N or something like that, or build your own custom coding to do these calls, because your data will not be trained on. You're just giving it enough access to generate based on the model that's already trained, and then it's giving you back the response. So with anything, protecting your data is going to be critical, right? So like if you're putting in a Google Drive, make sure you really control access to who gets access to what. If you're putting in a database, there's a lot of security that you need to line up of like who gets access to which sections of data. All that, you typically need a data engineer as you get a little bit higher up for data segmentation, but that is all incredibly important for rolling out these things. So thank you for asking that question. With that, does anyone have any other questions? Feel free to raise a hand, put in the Q&A. I'll give it a minute here. And with that, I do greatly appreciate all you guys coming and attending. For those who weren't able to make it, I hope you guys were able to get some value out of the recording. I'm going to be sending out to everyone. 2026, like I said, year of AI agents. So every single one of you has the opportunity here to make some really amazing things. I've seen some incredible agents deployed in different sectors. And I'm welcome to share those as well, some of the cool things I've seen. But I'll finish up with there unless anyone has a last minute question or comments.